The Practical Guide to a Happy Life. This audiobook is your roadmap to creating your happiest life, one choice at a time. You'll uncover timeless wisdom and practical steps that transform ordinary moments into extraordinary joy. As you listen, you'll realize the power to live a life of deep happiness has always been within you. It's time to unlock it. Introduction. Take a moment right now and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly, deeply happy? Not the fleeting joy of a social media like or a quick dopamine hit, but that profound sense of contentment that radiates from your core. Happiness isn't a lottery ticket waiting to be claimed, or a genetic trait you're born with. It's a skill, one that can be developed, refined, and mastered through intentional practice. Think of it like building muscle. You don't get stronger by wishing for strength. You get stronger by consistently showing up at the gym, pushing through discomfort, and following a structured plan. The science behind this is remarkably simple. Your brain forms neural pathways based on repeated thoughts and actions. When you consistently choose negative patterns, dwelling on problems, avoiding challenges, or staying in your comfort zone, you're essentially training your brain to default to unhappiness. But here's the empowering truth. You can rewire these pathways. Each time you choose gratitude over complaint, action over avoidance, or growth over stagnation, you're literally reshaping your brain's architecture. Remember, this isn't just another exercise in a self-help book. This is the first step in reclaiming control of your happiness. I believe in your capacity to transform, to grow, to build the life you deserve. Your journey toward lasting happiness starts right here, right now. The only question is, are you ready to begin? Part 1. Foundations of Happiness. Building your inner core. Chapter 1. The Power of Perspective. Let me tell you about Michelle, a senior marketing executive who embodied the classic success on paper, emptiness in reality story. 60-hour work weeks, endless Zoom calls, and a corner office that felt more like a prison than an achievement. Her days blurred together in a haze of deadlines and deliverables, each morning starting with a sense of dread that grew heavier as the months passed. One particularly exhausting Tuesday, while waiting for her fourth coffee of the day, Michelle noticed the barista drawing a tiny heart in her latte foam. It was nothing extraordinary, just a simple gesture that would disappear with the first sip. But something shifted in that moment. Instead of immediately checking her phone for emails, she paused. She noticed the warmth of the cup in her hands, the rich aroma, the artistry in that small heart. This tiny shift in attention sparked something. Michelle began looking for these moments throughout her day. The way sunlight painted patterns on her desk in the late afternoon. The genuine thank you from a junior colleague she'd helped. The satisfaction of crossing off items on her to-do list. These weren't life-changing events, but by acknowledging them, she began experiencing what psychologists call micro moments of positivity. Here's what Michelle discovered, and what you need to understand. Happiness isn't found in grand achievements or major life changes. It lives in the spaces between, in the small moments you usually rush past. Your brain is constantly filtering reality, deciding what deserves your attention. When you train it to notice positive moments, you're not just collecting nice memories. You're literally rewiring your neural pathways to recognize joy. Think about it. Right now, there are dozens of potential moments of happiness surrounding you. The comfort of your chair, the rhythm of your breathing, the satisfaction of learning something new through these words. These aren't trivial observations. They're building blocks of a more fulfilled life. Your challenge. Take 5 minutes right now. Write down 3 small positive moments from your day. They don't need to be spectacular. Maybe it was the first sip of morning coffee, a moment of laughter with a coworker, or the satisfaction of completing a task. Next to each moment, Write how it made you feel. This isn't just journaling, it's training your brain to recognize and amplify the joy that already exists in your daily life. Chapter 2. The Science of a Happy Brain. You might think happiness is something you're either born with or without, like being tall or having blue eyes. But let me tell you about Dr. Jude Chen, a neuroscientist who proved otherwise through his own battle with depression. After losing his wife to cancer, Jude found himself trapped in a spiral of negative thoughts, despite knowing more about the brain than most people ever will. Instead of letting his knowledge remain theoretical, he turned his understanding of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural pathways, into a personal experiment. He knew that every thought pattern, whether positive or negative, creates neural highways in your brain. The more you travel these mental roads, the stronger and more automatic they become. Jude started small. Each morning, before checking his phone or email, he spent 2 minutes focusing on one positive aspect of his life. Some days, it was as simple as acknowledging the comfort of his bed or the sound of birds outside. Other days, he reflected on deeper things, the memory of his wife's laugh, or the privilege of doing meaningful work. Here's what science tells us, and what Jude proved through his journey. Your brain is like a muscle that strengthens with repeated use. When you consistently direct your attention toward positive experiences, you're not just thinking happy thoughts, you're physically restructuring your neural architecture. This isn't feel-good pseudoscience. It's backed by decades of research in neuroplasticity. Within 3 months, Jude noticed significant changes. The heavy fog of depression began lifting, not because his circumstances had changed, but because he had literally rewired his brain to spot glimpses of light in the darkness. His research team later documented these changes through brain scans, showing increased activity in areas associated with positive emotion and resilience. This isn't about denying pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about understanding that your brain has an extraordinary capacity for change at any age. Every time you consciously choose to focus on something positive, you're laying down new neural pathways. Like a trail through a forest, these paths become clearer and easier to follow with each use. Your challenge. Starting tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, write down one thing you're grateful for. It doesn't matter how small or simple it seems. What matters is the consistency. This daily practice is your way of carving new neural pathways toward happiness. Keep this practice for 30 days, and you'll begin to notice your brain automatically scanning for positive aspects of your life, just as Jude did. I know you can do this. This isn't about motivation. It's about commitment to a process that science has proven works. Your journey toward rewiring your brain for happiness starts with this single daily action. Chapter 3. Discovering your why. Picture this: a dimly lit office at 3 a.m., spreadsheets scattered across a desk, and Jessica Thompson staring at her 4th failed business attempt. After burning through her savings chasing what she thought was success, she felt hollow inside. The fancy car and downtown apartment didn't fill the void she felt every morning. Each day felt like going through motions, checking boxes that someone else had created for her definition of success. But everything changed when her neighbor's teenage son asked for help with his college application essay. Despite her exhaustion, something made her say yes. As she helped him shape his story and dreams into words, she felt a spark she hadn't experienced in years. This single act led her to volunteer at local schools, teaching young entrepreneurs how to avoid the mistakes she'd made. She watched their eyes light up as she shared hard-earned wisdom about business fundamentals and the importance of sustainable growth. Within months, Jessica found herself spending weekends mentoring students instead of chasing deals. The irony? Her business actually improved, not because she was working harder, but because she'd finally connected with what truly motivated her, helping others avoid the painful lessons she'd learned. Her newfound clarity brought fresh energy to every aspect of her life, including her business decisions. Here's what you need to understand. Success without purpose is like a sports car, without fuel, flashy, but going nowhere. When you align your actions with what genuinely matters to you, motivation becomes automatic. You stop pushing yourself to work harder because the work itself pulls you forward. This isn't just feel-good advice. It's a fundamental principle of human psychology. We perform at our peak when our actions align with our deepest values. Think about your own life right now. Are you chasing goals that society told you to want, or ones that resonate with your core values? The difference between dragging yourself through each day and bouncing out of bed with energy often comes down to this simple question. Every morning presents a choice. Continue down the path of external validation or pivot toward what truly ignites your spirit. Your challenge. Take out a piece of paper right now. Write down 3 things that light a fire in your soul. Activities or causes that make you lose track of time. Next to each one, honestly assess how your current daily actions align with these passions. Don't judge yourself. This is about awareness, not guilt. This exercise isn't just about dreaming. It's about recognizing the gap between what you say matters and what your calendar actually shows matters. Look for small ways to incorporate more of these soul-igniting activities into your daily routine. Start with just 15 minutes if that's all you have. I believe in you, and this moment of clarity can be the turning point that transforms your journey from obligation to purpose. Remember, true fulfillment isn't found in the destination, but in aligning your daily path with what matters most to you. Chapter 4. Breaking Free from Limiting Beliefs. Marcus stood at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, his heart pounding not from excitement, but from fear. For 15 years, he'd told himself the same story. I'm not built for marathons. I'll never break 4 hours. Despite completing 12 marathons, he remained trapped in this mental cage of his own making. You see this pattern every day. Capable people held back, not by their abilities, but by the stories they tell themselves. These limiting beliefs aren't facts. They're assumptions you've accepted as truth. They whisper you can't before you even try, creating invisible barriers that feel as solid as concrete walls. Think about the thoughts that run through your mind when facing a challenge. I'm too old to start. I don't have the right background. People like me don't succeed at things like this. These aren't objective truths. They're stories you've internalized, often from past disappointments or others' doubts. Marcus broke free when his coach asked him one simple question. What evidence do you actually have that you can't break 4 hours? When he really thought about it, he realized his belief wasn't based on physical limitations, but on fear disguised as fact. His breakthrough came not from training harder, but from challenging this mental barrier. Here's the truth about limiting beliefs. They're comfortable because they protect you from potential failure, but they also rob you of potential joy, growth, and achievement. Every time you let a limiting belief go unchallenged, you choose the certainty of mediocrity over the possibility of excellence. The key to dismantling these beliefs lies in questioning them systematically. When a limiting thought arises, ask yourself, is this actually true? What evidence supports or contradicts it? Would I say this to someone I care about? Often you'll find these beliefs crumble under scrutiny. Marcus eventually crossed that finish line in 3:52, not because he suddenly became a different runner, but because he finally challenged the story he'd been telling himself. The same possibility exists for you in every area where you feel stuck. Your challenge. Take a moment right now. Think of one limiting belief that's holding you back from greater happiness or achievement. Write it down. Now, create a counter-statement that challenges this belief with actual evidence from your life or others who've overcome similar limitations. Make it specific and personal. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about honest self-examination and refusing to let unfounded fears dictate your potential. I believe in your capacity to break free from these self-imposed limitations. Your journey to greater happiness begins with questioning the stories you tell yourself. The time to start is now. Chapter 5. The Gratitude Advantage. Jennifer rushed through her mornings like most parents, a whirlwind of packed lunches, missing shoes, and barely contained chaos. Each day felt like survival mode, leaving her exhausted and disconnected from what mattered most. Her shoulders tensed with anxiety before her feet even hit the floor, dreading another day of rushing and stress. That changed when she discovered the transformative power of gratitude. You might think gratitude is just saying thank you or writing down nice things that happened. But it's far more powerful than that. When you consciously practice gratitude, you're actually rewiring your brain's neural pathways. Each time you acknowledge something you're thankful for, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals that make you feel happy and content. This isn't abstract theory. It's biological transformation happening in real time. Jennifer started small. Instead of focusing on her daughter's messy room, she expressed gratitude for her creativity. Rather than stressing about her son's endless energy, she thanked him for his enthusiasm for life. She began leaving little thank you notes in their lunchboxes, celebrating their unique qualities. Within weeks, the entire family dynamic shifted. Mornings became opportunities for connection rather than sources of stress. This isn't just feel-good theory. Neuroscience shows that consistent gratitude practice physically changes your brain's structure, particularly in regions associated with emotional regulation and happiness. The more you exercise gratitude, the easier it becomes to find joy in everyday moments. It's like building a muscle. Each repetition strengthens your capacity for happiness and resilience against life's inevitable challenges. The beauty of gratitude lies in its simplicity and accessibility. You don't need special equipment or training. You don't need to spend money or travel somewhere exotic. You just need to pause, notice, and acknowledge the good that exists in your life, no matter how small it might seem. Even in your darkest moments, gratitude can be your flashlight. Jennifer's transformation wasn't immediate or perfect. There were still chaotic mornings and challenging moments. Sometimes she forgot to practice gratitude altogether, but gratitude gave her a new lens through which to view these challenges. It became her anchor in difficult times and her amplifier in good ones. She learned that gratitude wasn't about denying problems. It was about expanding her perspective to see beyond them. Your challenge. Take time today to write a heartfelt gratitude letter to someone who has made a positive impact on your life. Be specific about what they did and how it affected you. Whether it's a parent, teacher, friend, or even a stranger who showed kindness when you needed it most. Express your appreciation in detail. Dig deep into your memories and recall the moments that shaped you. You don't have to send the letter if you don't want to, but I encourage you to consider sharing it. The act of writing alone will shift your perspective, and sharing it could create a beautiful ripple effect of gratitude and joy. I know you have the courage to open your heart in this way. Start now. Grab a pen and paper, and let gratitude guide your words. This simple act might just be the beginning of your own transformation story. Chapter 6. Embracing Emotional Agility. Life hits hard sometimes, and you need to learn how to roll with the punches. Meet Rachel, a high school teacher who lost her husband unexpectedly in a car accident. The classroom that once energized her became a space filled with overwhelming emotions, where even the smallest reminder, a student's laugh that sounded like his, or the coffee mug he'd given her, could trigger waves of grief. Every morning, she'd sit in her car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to compose herself before walking through those school doors, sometimes spending up to an hour just gathering the courage to face another day. But Rachel discovered something powerful: emotional agility. Instead of fighting her grief or trying to stay positive like everyone advised, she learned to acknowledge her feelings without letting them control her actions. She started each day by naming her emotions. Today I feel sad, and that's okay. Today I'm angry, and that's normal too. This simple act of recognition, though initially uncomfortable, became her first step toward healing and reclaiming her life's purpose. Think about emotions like weather patterns in your own life. They come and go, each serving a purpose, each teaching you something valuable about yourself. Just as rain nourishes the earth and storms clear the air, difficult emotions can deepen our understanding of ourselves and strengthen our character. Rachel's breakthrough came when she stopped trying to force happiness and instead developed the flexibility to experience all her emotions while still moving forward, one small step at a time. This principle applies beyond personal grief. Look at Netflix's journey from DVD rentals to streaming giant. When the digital revolution threatened their business model, they didn't panic or cling to the past like Blockbuster did. They acknowledged market changes, processed the implications, and adapted their strategy with bold conviction. Their emotional agility, the ability to navigate uncertainty while maintaining clear vision, transformed potential failure into unprecedented success, revolutionizing how we consume entertainment. Your capacity for happiness isn't about avoiding negative emotions. It's about developing the agility to work with them, to learn from them, to let them guide you toward growth. Think of emotional agility as a muscle that grows stronger with every repetition. Each time you acknowledge a feeling without being consumed by it, you grow stronger. Each time you adapt to change while staying true to your values, you build resilience that carries you through future challenges. Rachel eventually transformed her classroom into a space where students learned not just academic subjects, but emotional intelligence and resilience. She shared her journey openly, showing them that strength isn't about being unshakable. It's about being adaptable in the face of life's inevitable changes. Her grief didn't disappear, but her emotional agility allowed her to channel it into meaningful connection and growth, creating a legacy of emotional wisdom that touched hundreds of young lives. This is the essence of emotional agility, the ability to dance with your emotions rather than being dragged by them. Like Netflix's bold pivot to streaming, your greatest breakthroughs often come when you face change with courage and flexibility, when you learn to embrace uncertainty as a catalyst for growth rather than a barrier to success. Your challenge: when you face a difficult emotion today, pause and write it down in detail. What is this feeling trying to tell you about your values and needs? How can you acknowledge it while still moving toward your goals? What small step can you take right now, even while holding this emotion? I know you have the strength to face your emotions honestly. It's already within you, waiting to be awakened. This is where your journey to greater resilience begins. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right here, right now. Start now and watch as your emotional agility transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. Chapter 7: The Role of Relationships in Happiness. Let me share a story that will change how you think about connection and happiness. Holly worked as a software developer, spending countless hours behind screens, living what seemed like the perfect independent life. Her apartment overlooked the city, her career was soaring, and from the outside, she appeared to have it all. But every evening, she'd return to an empty home, scroll mindlessly through social media, and feel an overwhelming sense of isolation. The achievements that looked so impressive on paper couldn't fill the void that grew larger with each passing day. The wake-up call came during a company-wide system crash. As the team scrambled to fix the issue, Holly noticed something unexpected. The crisis brought people together, creating genuine moments of connection. Between furious typing sessions, colleagues shared stories, ordered late-night pizza, and actually laughed despite the stress. They swapped tales of past technical disasters, celebrated small victories, and supported each other through the frustration. For the first time in years, she felt part of something bigger than herself. This experience sparked a revelation. Technical problems could be solved alone, but life's greatest joys required connection. Holly started small, joining a local hiking group, accepting lunch invitations she'd usually decline, and staying a few minutes after meetings to chat with colleagues. She forced herself out of her comfort zone, even when it felt awkward or uncomfortable. Each interaction, however brief, added color to her formerly monochrome existence. The science behind this is clear. Human connection literally rewires your brain, releasing oxytocin and other chemicals that promote well-being. When you invest in relationships, you're not just making friends. You're building a support system that enhances every aspect of your life. Studies show that people with strong social connections live longer, recover from illness faster, and report higher levels of life satisfaction. Your brain treats social pain the same way it treats physical pain, which explains why isolation can feel so devastating. Holly's transformation wasn't overnight. Some meetups were awkward, some conversations fell flat, but she persisted. She learned to push through the initial discomfort, understanding that meaningful connections take time to develop. 6 months later, she had a regular coffee date with fellow hikers, a book club that met monthly, and genuine friendships with coworkers that extended beyond office hours. The same apartment that once felt empty became a gathering place for game nights and potluck dinners, filled with laughter and shared stories. Here's the truth. Loneliness isn't solved by achievement or material success. It's addressed by genuine connection, by being seen and understood by others. Your relationships are not just nice-to-have additions to your life. They're essential ingredients for lasting happiness. The corner office, the impressive salary, the perfect apartment. These things mean little if you have no one to share them with. Your challenge: take out your phone right now. Think of someone who's made a positive difference in your life. Maybe they listened when you needed to talk, supported you through a tough time, or simply made you laugh when you needed it most. Send them a message expressing what their friendship means to you. Be specific about a moment or quality you appreciate. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The time is now. You have the power to strengthen your connections and create more joy in your life, starting with this simple act of appreciation. This isn't just about making someone else feel good. It's about actively building the support network you need to thrive. Do it now. Your happiness depends on it. Chapter 8. Energy Management. Think about your typical day, the constant rush, the endless tasks, the feeling that there's never enough time. But what if you've been solving the wrong equation? What if time isn't actually your most precious resource? This realization hit me like a thunderbolt after years of watching high achievers burn themselves out chasing the clock. Let me tell you about Linda, a dedicated ER nurse who worked 12-hour shifts in one of Chicago's busiest hospitals. She prided herself on her ability to power through exhaustion, surviving on coffee and pure determination. Her calendar was a masterpiece of efficiency. Every minute accounted for, every task scheduled. Yet despite her immaculate time management, she felt constantly drained, struggling to find joy in the work she once loved. She was living proof that you can win the battle with time and still lose the war with yourself. During one particularly chaotic shift, Linda noticed something peculiar about her colleague Marcus. Despite handling the same overwhelming caseload, he maintained a steady, focused energy throughout his shift. While others became frazzled and short-tempered as the hours wore on, Marcus remained present and effective. His secret wasn't better time management. It was energy management. He'd discovered what elite performers have known for ages. Sustainability trumps speed. Here's what Marcus understood. Your energy, not your time, determines the quality of your life and work. You can have all the time in the world, but without proper energy management, those hours become meaningless. Think of your energy like a smartphone battery. Every action, interaction, and decision either charges or depletes it. The key isn't to squeeze more activities into your day, but to ensure you're operating at optimal power for the things that matter most. This isn't about doing more, it's about being more effective with what you do. Linda began studying her own energy patterns. She discovered that her morning meditation, which she'd been skipping to save time, actually doubled her emotional resilience during challenging cases. Taking real breaks, even brief ones, allowed her to approach each patient with renewed focus rather than running on autopilot. Most importantly, she learned to recognize when her battery was running low and take proactive steps to recharge. She started treating her energy as a cycle rather than a straight line that needed to be pushed forward at all costs. The science backs this up. Research shows that your brain consumes more energy than any other organ, using up to 20% of your body's resources. When you're depleted, your ability to make decisions, regulate emotions, and find joy in simple pleasures dramatically decreases. It's not about pushing through. It's about pushing smart. The most successful people I've worked with don't just manage their time. They master their energy cycles. Think of happiness not as a destination, but as a renewable resource. Just like a power grid needs constant maintenance and smart distribution to function effectively, your personal energy requires conscious management. The moments of joy, creativity, and connection you crave aren't time-dependent. They're energy-dependent. When you shift your focus from the clock to your internal power source, you unlock a new level of sustainable performance that no amount of time management alone can achieve. Chapter 9. The Happiness-Health Connection. Think about how you feel after a terrible night's sleep versus a restful one. The difference isn't just physical. It ripples through every aspect of your life, affecting your mood, decisions, and ability to find joy in simple moments. This fundamental connection between physical health and emotional well-being became crystal clear through James's transformation, and his story might just change how you view your own daily habits. Working 60-hour weeks at a tech startup, James embodied the hustle culture mentality. He wore his sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, survived on processed convenience foods, and considered the walk from his parking spot to his office desk sufficient exercise. His body was sending warning signals: chronic fatigue, mood swings, anxiety. But he ignored them all, believing mental toughness alone could overcome physical limitations. Like many high achievers, he saw rest as weakness and pushed himself to maintain an unsustainable pace. The wake-up call came during a crucial client presentation. Standing before the boardroom, James felt his heart racing uncontrollably. His hands trembled, his vision blurred, and panic overtook him. This anxiety attack, as his doctor later explained, wasn't just about work stress. It was his body's rebellion against months of neglect. It was the culmination of countless small decisions that prioritized immediate productivity over long-term well-being. What happened next revolutionized not just James's health, but his entire approach to happiness. Instead of reaching for another quick fix, he committed to understanding the body-mind connection. He learned that exercise doesn't just build muscle, it releases powerful mood-enhancing chemicals. Quality sleep isn't a luxury. It's essential for emotional regulation and mental clarity. Proper nutrition isn't about restriction. It's about fueling your brain's ability to experience joy and manage stress. This wasn't just theory to him anymore. It became lived experience. Starting small, James began with a daily 10-minute walk during lunch. These brief escapes from his desk became moments of mental reset, where he could breathe deeply and clear his mind. He prioritized 7 hours of sleep, treating it as a non-negotiable appointment with himself. Simple dietary changes, more whole foods, less processed sugar, stabilized his energy levels and mood. Within weeks, his colleagues noticed a difference not just in his appearance, but in his presence. The anxious, irritable manager was replaced by someone more patient, focused, and genuinely happy. His productivity actually increased despite working fewer hours. The science is clear. Your body and mind operate as one integrated system. When you nurture your physical health, you're literally building the biological foundation for happiness. Exercise increases neuroplasticity, helping your brain adapt and remain resilient in the face of challenges. Proper nutrition provides the building blocks for neurotransmitters that regulate mood and emotional stability. Quality sleep allows your brain to process emotions and prepare for life's challenges, acting as your natural reset button each night. Your body isn't just a vehicle carrying your mind around. It's an essential partner in your pursuit of happiness. Every healthy choice you make sends a powerful message to your brain. You're worth taking care of. This self-respect becomes a foundation for deeper, more sustainable joy. The small decisions you make each day, what to eat, whether to move, when to rest, are actually profound investments in your emotional well-being. Challenge: choose one small specific health improvement you can start today. Whether it's drinking an extra glass of water, taking a 10-minute walk, or setting a consistent bedtime, commit to this change for the next week. Remember, transformation doesn't require massive overhauls. It begins with single steps taken consistently. You have everything you need to start right now. Your body and mind are ready for positive change, and I believe in your ability to take this first step toward a healthier, happier you. The time for excuses is over. The time for action is now. Chapter 10. Building a Positive Morning Ritual. Think about your typical morning. Is it a frantic rush, marked by alarms snoozing and last-minute scrambling? Or have you crafted it into a launching pad for daily success? Let me share how Myra transformed her chaotic daybreak into a cornerstone of happiness and discovered a truth that can revolutionize your own journey. 3 months ago, Myra's mornings were a perfect storm of stress. Her alarm would blare at 7 a.m., triggering an immediate surge of anxiety that set her heart racing before she even opened her eyes. She'd hit snooze repeatedly, finally dragging herself out of bed with barely enough time to throw on clothes and rush to work. Breakfast? A coffee grabbed on the run, usually lukewarm by the time she could drink it. Exercise? A distant dream that felt more impossible with each passing day. By the time she reached her desk, she already felt defeated, running on empty before the day had truly begun. One particularly rough morning, after spilling coffee on her shirt and arriving late to an important meeting, Myra reached her breaking point. She sat in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel, and realized her mornings weren't just affecting her schedule. They were poisoning her entire day's potential for happiness and success. That evening, she made a decision that would reshape her life. She would take control of her mornings, no matter what it took. The transformation began small, as all lasting changes do. Myra started by setting her alarm 30 minutes earlier, placing it across the room to prevent snoozing, a simple but powerful change that forced her to physically get up. She laid out her clothes the night before and prepared a simple breakfast of overnight oats and fruit. These weren't revolutionary changes, but they created space for intention rather than reaction, allowing her mind to wake up alongside her body. Gradually, she expanded this morning sanctuary, building it minute by minute. She began with 5 minutes of meditation, simply sitting in silence before the day's noise could intrude on her thoughts. She added a short stretching routine that awakened her muscles and energy, then a few minutes of journaling to clear her mind and set daily intentions. Each edition wasn't about cramming more into her morning. It was about creating a ritual that centered her mind and energized her spirit, building a foundation for whatever challenges lay ahead. The impact was profound and far-reaching. Within weeks, Myra noticed she wasn't just starting her days differently. She was experiencing them differently, living them with greater purpose and awareness. The morning rush had been replaced by a sense of calm purpose that carried through each hour. She found herself smiling more, reacting less, and approaching challenges with renewed clarity and confidence. Her colleagues noticed too, commenting on her improved energy and focus, asking what had changed in her life. This isn't just about Myra's story, it's about understanding a fundamental truth that can transform your own life. Your morning sets the tone for your entire day, creating a ripple effect that influences every interaction and decision that follows. Those first conscious moments are like the opening notes of a symphony, establishing the theme that carries through every hour that follows. When you claim these moments with intention, you're not just changing your morning, you're transforming your life's entire trajectory, one sunrise at a time. The science backs this up conclusively. Your brain's neural pathways are most receptive in the early hours, making morning habits particularly powerful in shaping your mindset and behavioral patterns. The stress hormone cortisol naturally peaks in the morning, and how you manage this crucial period can influence your emotional state and cognitive performance for hours too. Part 2. Unlocking the Path to Daily Joy. Chapter 11. Micro-Joy Practices. Let me tell you about John, because his story might change how you think about happiness forever. As a pre-med student juggling a crushing course load, research commitments, and volunteer hours, John embodied the modern epidemic of chronic stress. His days were a blur of lectures, lab reports, and late-night study sessions, each moment packed with the pressure to maintain perfect grades. Like many high achievers, he believed that success meant sacrificing everything else, including his mental well-being. One particularly overwhelming afternoon, John found himself having a panic attack in the library. His hands were shaking so badly he couldn't hold his highlighter, and his chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the familiar spiral of anxiety threatened to consume him. That's when Maria, the elderly librarian who'd worked there for 30 years, quietly placed a cup of tea on his desk. 5 minutes, she said softly. Just sit with your tea for 5 minutes. Her wisdom, earned through decades of watching students push themselves to breaking points, knew exactly what he needed. Those 5 minutes changed everything. As John wrapped his hands around the warm cup, focusing only on the steam rising and the subtle aroma, something shifted. For the first time in months, his racing thoughts slowed. He felt his shoulders drop. His breathing deepened. It wasn't just tea. It was a moment of presence, a tiny ritual that broke through the chaos. In that simple act of pausing, he discovered a truth that had eluded him throughout his relentless pursuit of achievement. This simple experience became John's gateway to understanding a profound truth. Happiness doesn't require grand gestures or massive life overhauls. It lives in the small moments we often rush past, the quiet spaces between our constant doing. He began building tiny rituals into his daily routine. A moment of gratitude while brushing his teeth. 3 deep breaths before entering each classroom. Savoring the first sip of his morning coffee instead of gulping it down. These became his anchors in the storm of academic pressure. These weren't time-consuming practices. Most took less than a minute. But their impact compounds like interest in a bank account, building a fortune of well-being penny by precious penny. Each small moment of presence, each tiny pause to appreciate something simple, built upon the last. Within weeks, John noticed he was sleeping better. His focus improved. Most importantly, he stopped viewing his days as endless obstacles to overcome and began seeing them as collections of moments to experience. His grades didn't suffer. In fact, they improved as his mind became clearer and more focused. The science behind this transformation is clear. These micro moments of mindfulness trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress hormones and increasing feelings of well-being. When practiced consistently, they create new neural pathways that make happiness more accessible, more natural. It's like building a muscle. Each repetition strengthens your capacity for joy and resilience. Your challenge today is simple but powerful. Choose one simple activity that brings you joy, like listening to a favorite song, and incorporate it into your daily routine. Make it small, make it doable, but most importantly, make it consistent. This isn't about transforming your entire life overnight. It's about planting seeds of happiness that will grow stronger with each passing day. Think of it as investing in your emotional well-being, one moment at a time. I believe in you. This small step you're about to take, it's the beginning of something extraordinary. The journey to lasting happiness starts with a single mindful moment. Start now. Your future self will thank you for this gift of presence you're about to give yourself. Chapter 12. Conquering the Comparison Trap. Think about the last time you scrolled through social media. That familiar ache in your chest, the subtle tightening of your jaw as you compared your life to the carefully curated highlights of others. You're not alone. This invisible battle wages within millions every day, stealing joy one scroll at a time, draining your energy, and clouding your vision of what's truly possible in your own life. Let me tell you about Rachel, a talented watercolor artist whose Instagram following had grown to over 50,000. Her paintings captured the delicate play of light through forest canopies, the subtle moods of urban landscapes at dawn. But with each post, each comparison to other artists' work, each obsessive check of her engagement metrics, she felt her creativity withering. The numbers became a prison, transforming her passion into a performance. Every brushstroke became weighted with the anticipation of others' judgment. Every color choice second-guessed through the lens of potential likes. One morning, staring at her untouched brushes and a blank canvas, Rachel made a decision that would transform her relationship with art and herself. She deleted her social media accounts. No gradual withdrawal, no temporary breaks. A clean cut from the digital world that had become her measuring stick for success. It was the kind of decisive action that separates those who merely dream of change from those who dare to make it happen. The first week was excruciating. Her fingers itched to check notifications that no longer existed. The silence felt deafening, the absence of constant validation unsettling. But as days passed, something remarkable happened. Without the constant exposure to others' work, Rachel's unique artistic voice grew stronger. She began painting not for likes or shares, but for the pure joy of creation. Her style evolved naturally, uninhibited by trends or algorithms, flowing from a place of authentic inspiration rather than competitive pressure. This shift wasn't just about art. It was about reclaiming her self-worth from the grip of comparison. She discovered that true fulfillment comes not from measuring up to others, but from honoring your authentic path. Her work became more distinctive, more genuine, and paradoxically, more successful when she stopped chasing success through others' eyes. The very act of disconnecting from the digital noise allowed her inner vision to speak more clearly than ever before. Here's the truth. Every minute spent comparing yourself to others is a minute stolen from your own growth. Your journey, with all its messy detours and unexpected turns, is uniquely yours. It's not meant to look like anyone else's highlight reel. The sooner you embrace this reality, the sooner you can channel that energy into building something meaningful on your own terms. Consider how many moments of potential joy you've sacrificed at the altar of comparison. How many times have you diminished your achievements because they didn't match someone else's timeline? How often have you put your dreams on hold because they didn't fit the standard narrative of success? Your path is valid precisely because it's yours, shaped by your experiences, challenges, and choices. It's time to stop apologizing for taking a different route and start celebrating the unique journey that only you can travel. Chapter 13. Turning Setbacks into Stepping Stones. Picture walking into a bustling cafe in downtown Miami. The aroma of fresh roasted coffee fills the air, and happy customers chat over steaming cups of Cuban coffee. You'd never guess that just 18 months ago, this same location was shuttered, its windows papered over. Another casualty of poor planning and market conditions. This is where you'll find Ronaldo, moving confidently between tables, greeting regulars by name. But his easy smile masks the struggles that brought him here. When his first restaurant failed spectacularly within 6 months of opening, he lost not just his savings, but his confidence. The venture that was supposed to honor his grandmother's recipes became a painful reminder of his shortcomings. Most people would have walked away, found a safe job, blamed the economy, the location, or the competition. But Ronaldo did something different. He turned his failure into a classroom. Instead of hiding from his mistakes, he studied them. He spent months interviewing successful restaurant owners, working various positions in thriving establishments, and meticulously documenting everything he learned. Each setback became a lesson. The poor location choice taught him about demographic research. The inventory issues showed him the importance of cash flow management. The staffing problems revealed the critical nature of building and training the right team. What others saw as failures, Ronaldo recognized as the building blocks of future success. When he opened his second cafe, it wasn't just with a better business plan. It was with a completely transformed mindset. Every challenge that arose wasn't a threat to his success, but an opportunity to apply his hard-won wisdom. This shift in perspective made all the difference. You see, failure isn't your enemy. It's your most dedicated teacher, offering lessons you can't learn any other way. Every setback carries within it the seeds of future success, if you have the courage to study it rather than hide from it. Your challenge: take a moment right now. Write down one recent setback that's been weighing on your mind. Below it, list 3 specific lessons you learned from this experience. Be honest with yourself. What did this challenge teach you? What would you do differently next time? What strengths did you discover in yourself while facing this obstacle? I believe in you. Every setback you face is preparing you for something greater. Your willingness to learn from these moments rather than be defeated by them will determine how far you'll go. Start now. Chapter 14. The Freedom of Forgiveness. Picture 2 brothers, Corey and Cody, who once shared everything, from baseball games in their backyard to late-night conversations about their dreams. Their bond seemed unbreakable, forged through countless shared moments and the kind of deep understanding that only siblings can have. But a bitter dispute over their family business drove them apart, turning those warm memories into painful reminders of what was lost. The argument that started as a simple disagreement about business strategy escalated into deeply personal attacks, leaving wounds that would take years to heal. For 7 years they lived in the same city, but existed in separate worlds, their anger and hurt building walls higher than any physical distance. They stopped attending family gatherings, made excuses to avoid celebrations, and even took different routes to work to prevent accidental encounters. The breaking point came when their mother fell ill. Sitting in opposite corners of the hospital waiting room, both brothers realized how their feud had robbed them of precious time. not just with each other, but with their family. The sterile hospital lights cast harsh shadows on their faces, each lined with years of stored regret and unspoken words. It was Corey who finally broke the silence, crossing that waiting room with trembling steps. "I miss my brother," he said simply, his voice cracking with years of stored emotion. The weight of those words hung in the air, heavy with possibility and pain. Those 4 words shattered the barriers they'd built. They talked through the night, not just about their business disagreement, but about the pain, the misunderstandings, and the pride that had kept them apart. Each brother owned their part in the conflict, acknowledging how their stubbornness had turned a manageable disagreement into years of estrangement. Their conversation revealed layers of miscommunication that had fueled their anger, assumptions that had never been questioned, and hurt that had festered in silence. Through tears and occasional bitter laughter, they began to see how their shared stubbornness had cost them both dearly. What they discovered was transformative. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the past or pretending the hurt never happened. It was about choosing to release the weight of resentment they'd both been carrying, like setting down a heavy burden they'd grown so accustomed to bearing, they'd forgotten they could put it down. Every moment they'd spent nurturing their anger had been a moment stolen from potential joy, growth, and connection. They realized how many birthdays, holidays, and simple Sunday dinners had been sacrificed on the altar of their pride. The cost of their feud extended far beyond their own pain, rippling through their entire family network. The reconciliation wasn't instant or easy. Trust had to be rebuilt, one conversation at a time, like carefully laying bricks to reconstruct a fallen bridge. But with each step forward, both brothers felt lighter, freer. They realized that holding on to their grudge had been like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer, a self-destructive cycle that had only deepened their own pain. By choosing forgiveness, they weren't excusing the past. They were liberating themselves from its power to control their present and future. Small gestures began to bridge the gap. Shared meals, brief phone calls, and eventually, the courage to disagree without fear of another falling out. Each small step forward helped heal old wounds and create new patterns of understanding. The real victory wasn't just in saving their relationship. It was in discovering that forgiveness is ultimately a gift you give yourself. When you release the burden of resentment, you create space for joy, peace, and new possibilities in your life. The energy once spent maintaining walls of anger can now be channeled into building bridges of understanding and creating new memories. Their story became a testament to the power of choosing connection over conflict, and the freedom that comes when you finally set down the weight of past hurts. Through their journey, they learned that the courage to forgive often leads to the greatest personal liberation. Chapter 15. Celebrating Small Wins. Picture Amanda standing at the starting line of the Chicago Marathon, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and dread. Like many first-time marathoners, she'd spent months training, but still felt overwhelmed by the 26.2-mile journey ahead. The finish line seemed impossibly distant, an abstract goal that filled her with anxiety rather than motivation. The thousands of runners around her, some confident and others nervous like herself, only amplified her uncertainty about what lay ahead. During her training, Amanda had struggled with this same overwhelming feeling. Each long run felt like an insurmountable challenge until her coach taught her a revolutionary approach. Focus on the next telephone pole, then the next street corner, then the next water station. Instead of fixating on the finish line, she learned to celebrate these micro-achievements. Each mile completed, each hill conquered, each steady breath maintained. This simple shift transformed her entire mindset about what was possible. This shift in perspective transformed her entire experience. When she hit mile 3, she didn't think about the 23 miles ahead. She celebrated completing those first 3 miles. At mile 15, when fatigue started creeping in, she focused on reaching the next water station, then the next crowd of cheering supporters. Each small victory became fuel for the next step forward. Even when her legs felt heavy and her breathing grew labored, she kept her focus tight and immediate. What Amanda discovered transcends running. It's a fundamental truth about human motivation and happiness. When you focus solely on distant goals, you rob yourself of the joy and momentum that come from acknowledging your daily progress. Think about it. How often have you dismissed your small achievements because they weren't big enough? How many times have you pushed aside moments of progress because you hadn't reached your final destination? This self-defeating pattern keeps you stuck in a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction. The science is clear. Your brain responds powerfully to small wins. Each time you acknowledge progress, your brain releases dopamine, creating a sense of pleasure and achievement that motivates you to keep going. By celebrating these moments, you're not just marking progress, you're literally rewiring your brain for success and happiness. This neurological reward system is your built-in motivation machine, but you have to activate it through conscious recognition of your achievements. Amanda finished her marathon that day, not because she focused on the finish line, but because she honored each step that took her there. She high-fived supporters at mile markers, smiled at her reflection in store windows, and mentally checked off each neighborhood she passed through. When she finally crossed the finish line, it wasn't just the culmination of 26.2 miles. It was the celebration of thousands of small victories that had brought her there. The medal around her neck represented not just one achievement, but countless moments of perseverance and determination. Your challenge. Take a moment right now to write down one achievement from today, no matter how small it might seem. Maybe you made your bed, completed a work task, or chose a healthy lunch. Whatever it is, celebrate it in a meaningful way. Share it with a friend, give yourself a moment of recognition, or treat yourself to something special. This isn't about ego, it's about acknowledging your progress and building momentum for tomorrow. Make this a daily practice and watch how your perspective shifts. You're capable of amazing things, but those things happen one small step at a time. Start celebrating those steps today. Your journey to lasting happiness begins with acknowledging the victory in front of you right now. Take that first step. What will you celebrate today? Remember, every major accomplishment in history started with a single, seemingly insignificant action. Your next breakthrough might be hiding in today's small win. Chapter 16. The Art of Being Present. Think about the last time you truly lost yourself in a moment. Not the kind of loss where your mind wanders to tomorrow's meeting or yesterday's argument, but the kind where you're so completely immersed that time seems to stop. This is the story of Marcus, a software developer and father of 2, who discovered that the greatest joy often hides in life's simplest moments. Moments we frequently rush past in our endless pursuit of what's next. Marcus used to rush through bedtime stories with his children, his mind already racing ahead to emails he needed to send and code he needed to write. The stories were just another task to check off his endless to-do list, another box to tick before he could return to what he considered important work. But one evening, his daughter asked him why the dragon in the story sounded different every night. This innocent question stopped him cold. He realized he'd been reading without really being there, robbing both himself and his children of these precious moments that would never come again. That night marked a turning point. Marcus decided to approach story time differently, treating it not as an obligation but as an opportunity. He began paying attention to every detail: the weight of his child against his arm, the fresh from the bath smell of their hair, the way their eyes widened at exciting parts of the story. He noticed how their small fingers traced the illustrations, how they giggled at certain words, how they breathed more slowly as sleep approached. These weren't just stories anymore. They were gateways to connection, to presence, to joy. Each night became a sacred ritual of connection rather than a rushed routine. The transformation wasn't just about bedtime. Marcus started bringing this same mindful presence to other parts of his day. Morning routines became opportunities for connection rather than rushed chaos. Dinner conversations turned into meaningful exchanges instead of distracted silence punctuated by smartphone notifications. Even his work improved as he learned to focus fully on one task at a time, finding flow and satisfaction in each moment. His colleagues noticed the change. His code was cleaner, his solutions more innovative, his presence in meetings more impactful. The science behind presence is compelling and well documented. When you're fully engaged in the present moment, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine and serotonin that enhance both performance and pleasure. Stress hormones like cortisol decrease, while feelings of connection and contentment increase. You're not just experiencing life more fully, you're literally rewiring your brain for greater happiness and effectiveness. This neurological shift creates a positive feedback loop, making it easier to stay present in future moments. This isn't about adding more to your already full plate. It's about experiencing what's already there more completely. It's about transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary ones through the simple act of being present. When you approach each moment with full awareness, you'll find that joy isn't something you chase. It's something you notice. It's always been there, waiting patiently for your attention. Like Marcus discovered, presence isn't just about improving individual moments. It's about enhancing your entire life experience. Each present moment builds upon the last, creating a richer, more fulfilling way of living. The key isn't doing different things, it's doing things differently. This shift in perspective can transform not just how you experience life, but how deeply you connect with others and how meaningfully you impact the world around you. Chapter 17: Finding Meaning in Service. You might think retirement means slowing down, settling into a comfortable routine of leisure and rest. But what if I told you that's exactly when life can become most meaningful? Let me share a story that will challenge everything you believe about purpose and happiness in your later years. One that completely transformed my understanding of what retirement can truly be. After 42 years of teaching high school mathematics, Barney found himself adrift in retirement. The structured days, the student interactions, the sense of making a difference, all vanished overnight. His mornings stretched endlessly, filled with crossword puzzles and TV shows that left him feeling hollow rather than fulfilled. Like many retirees, he fell into the trap of believing that rest alone would bring contentment. Everything changed when his neighbor mentioned the local animal shelter needed volunteers. Initially hesitant, Barney decided to give it one afternoon. That single decision transformed his retirement from empty hours into a life overflowing with purpose. Sometimes the smallest choices create the biggest ripples in our lives. At the shelter, Barney discovered something profound: the joy of being needed again. He started small, cleaning kennels, filling water bowls, walking dogs. But soon he was doing more. He created a system to track each animal's medical needs, organized adoption events, and even started teaching other volunteers. The skills he'd honed over decades as a teacher found new life in service to these abandoned animals. His analytical mind, which once solved complex equations, now solved logistics problems that helped save lives. But here's what's crucial to understand. The happiness Barney found wasn't just about keeping busy. It came from knowing his actions directly improved lives. Every scared dog that learned to trust again, every cat that found a forever home. These became his new measures of success. The shelter staff noticed something remarkable. Animals responded differently to Barney. His patient, methodical approach helped calm even the most anxious creatures. He had found his second calling, one that utilized everything he'd learned in his first career, but in an entirely new way. This is the secret that most people miss about happiness. It's not found in what life gives you, but in what you give to life. When you serve others, whether they're four-legged or two-legged, you tap into something larger than yourself. Your problems shrink in perspective. Your sense of purpose expands. Your daily actions take on new meaning. Each morning becomes an opportunity rather than an obligation. The science backs this up. Studies show that volunteering increases life satisfaction, reduces depression, and even improves physical health. When you help others, your brain releases oxytocin and other feel-good chemicals that create a natural high. But more importantly, it gives you something that Netflix and golf never can: the knowledge that you're making a real difference in the world. Research from Stanford University even suggests that people who volunteer regularly live longer and report higher levels of life satisfaction well into their 80s and 90s. Your challenge: this week, commit to one meaningful act of service. It doesn't have to be grand or time-consuming. Help a neighbor with their groceries. Spend an hour at a local food bank. Visit someone who's lonely. The specific action matters less than your commitment to step outside yourself and make someone else's life better. Start small, but start today. I believe in you. This simple act of service could be the first step toward discovering your own deeper sense of purpose and joy. The world needs what you have to offer: your unique skills, your experience, your compassion. Don't let another day pass without sharing your gifts. It starts today with one small choice to serve. Remember, the richest life isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give away. Chapter 18. Simplifying for Serenity. You've probably looked around your space at least once and felt that overwhelming sensation of drowning in stuff. That's exactly where Taylor found herself, a successful marketing executive whose life had become buried under an avalanche of possessions. Her 3-bedroom apartment was stuffed with clothes she never wore, gadgets she barely touched, and furniture that served no purpose except collecting dust and draining her energy every time she walked past. Each morning, Taylor would waste precious time searching for items in her cluttered space, often spending upwards of 30 minutes just looking for basic necessities. Her productivity plummeted, her anxiety skyrocketed, and despite having everything she thought she wanted, happiness seemed increasingly elusive. The breaking point came when she missed an important client meeting because she couldn't find her presentation materials buried somewhere in her home office, a mistake that nearly cost her a major account. This moment of crisis led Taylor to discover minimalism, not as a trendy aesthetic choice or Instagram-worthy lifestyle, but as a transformative life philosophy that would reshape her entire approach to living. She started small, clearing out one drawer at a time, asking herself hard questions about each item she touched. With each object she removed, she felt a weight lifting from both her space and her mind. The process wasn't just about getting rid of things. It was about questioning what truly added value to her life and learning to distinguish between genuine needs and empty wants. Within 6 months, Taylor had donated over 70% of her possessions, filling 3 moving trucks with items headed to local charities. Her space transformed from a chaotic storage unit into a peaceful sanctuary where every item had its place and purpose. But the real transformation happened internally. Without the constant distraction of clutter competing for her attention, she found mental clarity she hadn't experienced in years, Her work improved dramatically, earning her a promotion. Her relationships deepened as she spent less time managing stuff and more time connecting with people. She discovered that all those things she thought she needed were actually standing between her and genuine contentment. Here's what's crucial to understand. Minimalism isn't about living with nothing. It's about living with intention and purpose in every aspect of your life. Every item in your space should serve a clear function or bring you genuine joy, not just momentary pleasure. When you strip away the excess, you create room for what truly matters: growth, relationships, experiences, and personal development. Your environment shapes your mind more powerfully than you might realize, and a cluttered space inevitably leads to a cluttered thought process and fragmented focus. The science supports this conclusively. Research shows that physical clutter elevates cortisol levels, your body's main stress hormone, by up to 30% throughout the day. Living in a cluttered environment can significantly impair your ability to focus and process information, reducing cognitive performance by as much as 20% in some studies. Conversely, organized, minimal spaces have been linked to better decision-making, improved mood, and increased productivity, with some studies showing up to a 40% boost in efficient task completion. Your relationship with possessions mirrors your relationship with life itself. When you learn to let go of what doesn't serve you, whether it's objects cluttering your home, commitments draining your energy, or thought patterns holding you back, you create space for growth, peace, and authentic happiness. This isn't just about cleaning house. It's about clearing the path to your best life. Chapter 19. The Role of Play in Adult Happiness. Let me tell you about Mish, a CEO whose life was a constant sprint between meetings, deadlines, and quarterly reports. From the outside, Mish had it all: corner office, impressive salary, industry recognition. But something was missing. The spark that once made work exciting had dimmed to a flicker, replaced by an exhausting cycle of endless tasks and mounting expectations. One rainy Saturday, while cleaning out the garage, Meech stumbled upon an old art set from college days. Fingers traced the worn edges of paintbrushes, and memories flooded back of late nights in the studio, lost in the pure joy of creating. Without thinking, Mish opened the set and began to paint, hands trembling slightly with a mix of nervousness and anticipation. That simple act changed everything. For the first time in years, time seemed to stop. No emails demanded attention. No decisions needed making. Just colors flowing onto canvas, creating something purely for the sake of creation. The outside world, with all its pressures and demands, melted away completely. What started as a chance encounter became a weekly ritual. Every Sunday morning, before the world awakened, Meech would paint. Sometimes abstract splashes of color, other times detailed landscapes. The quality didn't matter. It was about the process, the play, the permission to create without judgment. Each session became a sacred space where perfectionism had no power. Something remarkable happened. Monday meetings became more productive. Creative solutions to old problems emerged naturally. The tension that once lived in Misha's shoulders began to dissolve. By giving the brain permission to play, to experiment without consequences, new neural pathways opened up. This wasn't just about art. It was about rediscovering the power of play itself. The transformation was subtle at first, then undeniable. You see, somewhere between childhood and adulthood, we're taught that play is frivolous, unproductive, a waste of precious time. But research tells us exactly the opposite. Play reduces stress hormones, increases creativity, and improves problem-solving abilities by up to 40%. When we engage in activities purely for enjoyment, our brains release dopamine and serotonin, natural mood elevators that enhance our overall well-being. These chemical changes create a ripple effect, improving everything from sleep quality to decision-making capabilities. The key is understanding that play isn't about the outcome. It's about the experience. Whether you're painting, playing basketball, or learning to juggle, the goal is to lose yourself in the moment, to reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder and possibility. This state of flow, where time disappears and self-consciousness fades, is where true innovation and rejuvenation happen. Your challenge: schedule 30 minutes this week for a playful activity you enjoy, like drawing, playing a sport, or trying a new hobby. Don't focus on being good at it. Focus on enjoying it. This isn't about achievement, it's about engagement. Let yourself experiment, make mistakes, and most importantly, have fun. You might be surprised at how this small investment in play transforms other areas of your life. Document how you feel before and after these play sessions. The shifts in mood and energy can be profound. I believe in your ability to rediscovering the power of play. The time to start is now. Give yourself permission to step away from the serious and embrace the joy of creating, moving, or learning something new. Just because you can. Your inner child is still there, waiting for an invitation to come out and play. The benefits will extend far beyond those precious minutes of freedom. Chapter 20. The Happiness Anchor. Let me share a powerful truth about evening reflection that transformed David Kindle's life, and can transform yours too. As a high school teacher in Seattle, David struggled with carrying the weight of each day into his nights. The stress of managing classrooms, grading papers, and navigating school politics left him mentally exhausted and unable to find peace when he needed it most. His mind would race with unfinished tasks, difficult student interactions, and the constant pressure to perform. Each night became a battleground of anxious thoughts and missed opportunities for rest. Everything changed when David discovered the power of evening reflection. Instead of collapsing into bed with his mind racing, he began dedicating 15 minutes each night to process his day. Sitting in his favorite armchair, he would write down 3 things that went well, 1 challenge he faced, and 1 lesson he learned. This simple practice became his anchor, helping him release the day's tensions and prepare for tomorrow with renewed perspective. Within weeks, he noticed a dramatic shift in both his sleep quality and overall mindset. His colleagues even started commenting on his newfound energy and clarity at work. You see, your mind needs time to process experiences, just like your body needs time to digest food. When you rush from one day to the next without reflection, you miss the crucial insights and gratitude that fuel personal growth. Evening reflection isn't about dwelling on problems. It's about extracting wisdom from your experiences and acknowledging the good that exists in each day. It's a deliberate pause that allows you to reset, recharge, and realign with your deeper purpose. This intentional practice creates space for breakthrough moments that often get lost in the chaos of daily life. Think of your mind like a garden. Daily reflection is the act of pulling weeds, addressing concerns, watering flowers, nurturing gratitude, and planting new seeds, setting intentions. Without this regular tending, even the most beautiful garden becomes overgrown and chaotic. Similarly, without reflection, your thoughts can become tangled and overwhelming. Just 15 minutes of focused attention can prevent mental clutter from accumulating and choking out your clarity and peace. Every moment spent in reflection is an investment in your mental landscape's future beauty and abundance. The science behind evening reflection is compelling. Research shows that people who spend just 10 minutes reflecting at day's end experience better sleep quality, reduced anxiety, and increased emotional intelligence. This practice activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural relaxation response, preparing you for restorative rest. Studies have also found that consistent reflection improves decision-making abilities and strengthens emotional resilience over time. The neurological benefits compound with each session, literally rewiring your brain for greater clarity and emotional regulation. But here's the key. Reflection must become a ritual, not just a reaction to stress. David made his evening practice non-negotiable, treating it with the same importance as brushing his teeth or eating dinner. He created a specific time and space for reflection, free from distractions and interruptions. This consistency transformed what could have been just another task into a peaceful transition between day and night. He even went as far as to set a gentle alarm reminder and keep his reflection journal in plain sight as a visual cue. The physical environment he created became a sanctuary for his daily mental reset. The Airbnb story perfectly illustrates how this practice scales from personal to professional success. Like the founders who used evening reflection to refine their platform, you can use this time to identify patterns, celebrate progress, and course correct when needed. Each reflection becomes a building block for continuous improvement and deeper self-awareness. Through consistent practice, you'll develop an invaluable skill that serves both your personal growth and professional advancement, just as it has for countless high achievers across industries. The compound effect of daily reflection creates a momentum that can transform not just your evenings, but your entire life trajectory. Part 3. Sustaining growth and radiating positivity. Chapter 21. Creating happiness systems. Let me share a powerful story about Jessica, a single mother of 3 who felt like she was drowning in daily chaos. Working full-time as an accountant while managing her household left her exhausted and struggling to find moments of joy. Every decision, from what to cook for dinner to how to schedule after-school activities, drained her mental energy until she had nothing left for herself or her children. The constant weight of responsibility crushed her spirit, leaving her wondering if she'd ever feel truly present and fulfilled again. Then Jessica discovered the transformative power of systems. Instead of tackling each day as a series of overwhelming choices, she began creating automatic routines that eliminated decision fatigue. She started with meal planning, dedicating 1 hour every Sunday to map out the week's meals and grocery list. This simple system freed up mental space she previously spent stressing about dinner each night. Within weeks, the evening chaos transformed into smooth, predictable routines that actually brought her family closer together. You see, happiness isn't just about positive thinking. It's about creating sustainable structures that support your well-being. When you automate routine decisions, you preserve your mental energy for what truly matters. Jessica expanded her systems to include morning routines, homework schedules, and even weekly family activities. Each system she implemented reduced stress and created space for genuine connection with her children. The transformation wasn't just in her schedule. It showed in her eyes, her smile, and the quality of time she spent with her kids. Think of your daily habits like a smartphone's operating system. Just as your phone runs countless background processes without your conscious input, your habits should support your happiness automatically. By creating systems, you're essentially programming your life to run more efficiently, leaving you free to focus on joy rather than juggling endless decisions. When your basic needs and routines operate on autopilot, you unlock mental bandwidth for creativity, relationships, and personal growth. The science is clear. Decision fatigue diminishes your ability to make good choices and experience positive emotions. Each decision you make throughout the day depletes your mental resources. But when you systematize routine choices, you conserve that energy for meaningful experiences and relationships. Research shows that the average adult makes over 35,000 decisions daily. Imagine reclaiming even a fraction of that mental energy through effective systems. Your challenge: take a moment now to identify one routine in your life that drains your mental energy. It could be your morning preparation, meal planning, workout schedule, or any recurring task that requires frequent decision-making. Write down 3 specific steps you can take to systematize this routine, eliminating the need for constant choices. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's progress toward a life where happiness flows more naturally because you've built the systems to support it. Start small, but start today. Even minor improvements in your daily systems can create major shifts in your quality of life. I believe in your ability to create positive change through systematic thinking. Start now. Your future self will thank you for the mental space you've created for joy. The path to lasting happiness isn't found in random acts of positivity, but in the intentional systems you build to support your well-being day after day. Chapter 22. The Happiness-Confidence Cycle. You might recognize yourself in Jack's story. Standing before his first college class, his hands trembled as he gripped his lecture notes, sweat forming small dark patches on his carefully ironed shirt. Like many who struggle with confidence, he saw only the mountain ahead, not the small steps that would lead him to the summit. But what Jack discovered next changed not just his teaching career, but his entire approach to happiness and self-worth. Instead of focusing on being the perfect professor immediately, Jack started setting tiny, manageable goals. Day 1. Make eye contact with at least 3 students while explaining a key concept. Day 2. Ask one engaging question and wait patiently for responses. Day 3. Share a brief personal anecdote related to the lesson that made the material more relatable. Each small victory built upon the last, creating what psychologists call success momentum, a powerful force that transforms hesitation into confidence. This is how confidence really works, not through grand gestures or overnight transformations, but through consistent small wins that prove to yourself what you're capable of. As Jack mastered these micro-challenges, something remarkable happened. His increased confidence didn't just make him a better teacher, it made him happier and more engaged with his work. Students responded to his growing authenticity with increased participation and enthusiasm, which in turn boosted his confidence further, creating a powerful upward spiral. You see, confidence and happiness aren't separate paths. They're intertwined trails leading to the same peak. When you prove to yourself that you can handle small challenges, you build trust in your abilities. This trust creates a foundation for joy because you know, deep down, that you can handle whatever comes next. It's like building a muscle. Each rep makes you stronger, more capable, and more prepared for bigger challenges. The science backs this up conclusively. Every time you achieve a goal, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This chemical reaction doesn't distinguish between small and large achievements. It's the act of accomplishment itself that matters. By setting and achieving manageable goals, you're literally training your brain to associate action with happiness, creating neural pathways that make future successes more likely and more satisfying. Your challenge: choose one small, specific goal to accomplish this week. Make it something concrete and achievable, perhaps speaking up once in a meeting when you'd normally stay quiet, organizing one drawer in your home that's been bothering you for months, or reaching out to one old friend you've been meaning to contact. Write this goal down in detail, including when and how you'll accomplish it, and when you achieve it, take a moment to truly celebrate your success. Don't brush it off as insignificant. Remember, these small victories are the building blocks of both confidence and happiness, the foundation stones of every major achievement. I believe in your ability to take this first step. Your journey to greater confidence and happiness starts with this one small goal. Make it happen. You've got this. Remember, every expert was once a beginner who dared to take that first step. Chapter 23. Owning your story. You've probably wondered why some people emerge from adversity stronger while others remain trapped by their past. Let me tell you about Sean Tank. whose story perfectly illustrates the transformative power of reframing your narrative, a power you already possess but might not yet recognize. After losing his family business during the 2008 financial crisis, Sean found himself sleeping in his car, haunted by shame and regret. Every morning, he'd look in his rearview mirror and see only failure staring back at him. His bank account was empty, his confidence shattered, and his family's legacy seemed destroyed. The weight of disappointment pressed down on him with each passing day, making even the simplest tasks feel insurmountable. But one day, while listening to a podcast about storytelling in a coffee shop where he'd gone to escape the winter cold, something clicked. He realized he wasn't just experiencing his story, he was telling it to himself in the most defeating way possible, reinforcing his own limitations with every retelling, trapped in a cycle of self-defeating thoughts that only deepened his sense of failure. Instead of seeing himself as a victim of circumstance, Sean began to rewrite his narrative. The loss of his business became not an ending, but the first chapter of a comeback story. Those nights in his car weren't symbols of failure, but testament to his resilience and determination to rebuild. Each job interview wasn't a reminder of what he'd lost, but an opportunity to rebuild and reshape his future on his own terms. This mindset shift didn't happen overnight. It required consistent, conscious effort to reframe each setback as a setup for something greater. He had to deliberately catch himself whenever old thought patterns emerged, replacing them with this new perspective. This shift in perspective changed everything. When you reframe your story, you reclaim your power from the circumstances that once seemed to control you. Your past experiences don't define you. They refine you, forging strength from struggle. Every challenge you faced has equipped you with unique insights and strengths that others may not possess. These are your competitive advantages, hidden in plain sight within the very stories you've been telling yourself. The obstacles you've overcome, the lessons you've learned the hard way, these are the building blocks of your future success. Think about it. The same event can be told as a tragedy or a triumph. The choice is yours. A job loss can be the end of a career or the beginning of an entrepreneurial journey that impacts thousands. A relationship breakdown can be a failure or a crucial lesson in self-worth and authentic living. A health crisis can be a devastating blow or the catalyst for transforming your lifestyle. The facts don't change, but your interpretation shapes how these experiences influence your future and the actions you take today. Every setback carries within it the seeds of an equal or greater opportunity, if you're willing to look for it and nurture its growth. Your challenge. Take a moment now to think about a challenging experience you've faced. Write it down twice. First as it originally felt, with all the raw emotion and difficulty, then rewrite it focusing on the strength, wisdom, or growth it created in you. What did this experience teach you about your own resilience? How did it make you more capable of handling future challenges? What capabilities did you discover in yourself that you didn't know you had? Be specific and honest with yourself. This exercise isn't about denial, but about discovering the hidden value in your struggles. Dig deep and examine how this experience has shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. I believe in your power to reshape your narrative, because I've witnessed countless others do exactly that. Your story isn't finished. It's still being written, and you hold the pen. Every day presents a new opportunity to reframe your past and redirect your future. The power to transform your narrative lies within you, waiting to be unleashed. Start reframing your narrative today, and watch how it transforms not just your perspective, but the very trajectory of your life. Remember, your greatest setbacks often contain the seeds of your most significant breakthroughs. You just need the courage to look for them. Chapter 24. Mastering Self-Compassion. Wayne's corner office used to be his pride, a symbol of his relentless drive to succeed. But beneath the polished exterior, he was crumbling. Every achievement felt hollow, each milestone just another box to check. Like so many high achievers, Wayne had mastered the art of pushing himself beyond limits, but he'd never learned the crucial skill of self-compassion. His office walls were lined with awards and accolades, yet each one felt like a silent accusation rather than a celebration. His breaking point came during a presentation. Standing before the board, his hands trembling, Wayne realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd spoken to himself with kindness. Every internal dialogue was harsh, demanding perfection, dismissing his efforts as inadequate. That evening, instead of staying late at the office as usual, he sat in his car and wrote himself a simple note. "You're doing the best you can." Those 6 words, though seemingly simple, carried the weight of years of suppressed emotional needs. This small act of self-compassion sparked a transformation. You must understand that treating yourself with kindness isn't weakness. It's the foundation of sustainable success. Wayne began incorporating daily moments of self-compassion into his routine. When projects didn't go as planned, instead of harsh self-criticism, he'd ask himself, "How would I support a friend in this situation?" He started taking brief walks during lunch breaks, using this time to check in with himself rather than checking emails. The impact was profound. His productivity didn't decrease. It became more sustainable. His creativity flourished because he no longer feared failure. Most importantly, he discovered that joy doesn't come from achievement alone. It emerges from accepting yourself fully, imperfections and all. His team noticed the change too, commenting on his more balanced approach and improved leadership style. Self-compassion isn't about lowering your standards or becoming complacent. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to your performance. When you treat yourself with kindness, you build resilience that sustains you through challenges. You create space for growth without the crushing weight of self-judgment. This is the kind of inner strength that doesn't just survive difficult times. It thrives through them. Your challenge. Take a moment now to write a compassionate letter to yourself. Acknowledge your efforts, your struggles, and your growth. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you deeply care about. What words of encouragement do you need to hear? What strength do you see in yourself that you rarely acknowledge? Write from a place of understanding and genuine care. This isn't about inflating your ego. It's about nurturing your spirit with the same kindness you so readily offer others. Set aside at least 15 minutes for this exercise, finding a quiet space where you can reflect deeply and honestly. I believe that within you lies the capacity for tremendous self-compassion. The journey to lasting happiness begins with being gentle with yourself. Start this practice today and watch how it transforms not just your relationship with yourself, but your entire approach to life's challenges. Remember, the voice you use with yourself is the foundation upon which all other success is built. Chapter 25. Thriving Amid Uncertainty. Picture Alex, fresh out of college, standing in her empty apartment with nothing but a laptop and big dreams. Like many recent graduates, she had envisioned a clear path forward, the perfect job, the ideal city, a life that made sense. Instead, she faced a sea of rejection emails and uncertainty that threatened to drown her optimism. Each morning, she'd wake up to another "thank you for your application" message that felt more like a door slamming shut. You see, uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's your opportunity to develop strength you never knew you had. Alex discovered this truth when she shifted her perspective from fighting the unknown to embracing it as a canvas for possibility. Instead of fixating on the perfect job, she started viewing each application, each interview, and even each rejection as data points helping her refine her direction. Every no became a stepping stone toward her eventual yes. The breakthrough came when Alex started treating uncertainty like a skill to master rather than a problem to solve. She created a simple morning routine, spending 20 minutes exploring new industry trends, reaching out to one new connection, and documenting one small win from the previous day. This structured approach to embracing the unknown gave her a sense of progress even when the bigger picture remained unclear. Within weeks, she noticed her confidence growing, not because circumstances had changed, but because she had. You must understand that stability doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from building internal resilience. Alex's journey teaches us that adapting to change isn't about having all the answers. It's about staying curious and maintaining forward momentum, even when the path ahead seems foggy. The most successful people aren't those who avoid uncertainty. They're the ones who learn to thrive within it. Think about uncertainty as a muscle you can strengthen. Each time you face an unknown situation with openness rather than resistance, you're building that muscle. When Alex finally landed a role, it wasn't in her planned field. It was in an emerging industry she'd discovered during her exploration phase. Her flexibility had become her greatest asset. What initially felt like a detour had transformed into her defining advantage in a rapidly changing job market. Your challenge: take a moment right now to identify one area of your life that feels uncertain. Maybe it's your career path, a relationship, or a big decision looming on the horizon. Write down 3 specific steps you can take to embrace this uncertainty with confidence. These steps should be actionable and within your control. Perhaps it's committing to learn one new skill each month, reaching out to 3 mentors in your field, or creating a daily practice that grounds you amid change. The key is to choose actions that push you slightly beyond your comfort zone while remaining achievable. Chapter 26: Fostering a Growth Mindset. Meet David, a collegiate swimmer who spent years chasing Olympic dreams. You might think his greatest moment came from standing on the podium or breaking records, but his true breakthrough emerged from what seemed like his darkest hour. Missing Olympic trials qualification by mere hundredths of a second, a margin so slim it could barely be seen by the naked eye. You see, failure isn't your enemy. It's your most honest teacher, and often your most powerful ally in disguise. When David first missed that qualifying time, his initial reaction mirrored what many of you might feel: devastation, self-doubt, and the crushing weight of "what if?" The kind of gut-wrenching disappointment that makes your chest tight and your thoughts spiral. But something shifted in those crucial moments after the race. Instead of letting defeat define him, he chose to let it refine him. This is where most people get it wrong. They view failure as a full stop when it's actually a comma in their story. David began analyzing his race footage not with self-criticism, but with curiosity. Every missed turn, each inefficient stroke. These weren't mistakes to shame himself over, but data points guiding his path forward. He treated each failure as a laboratory for improvement, a chance to dissect and understand exactly what needed to change. You must understand that growth doesn't happen in spite of challenges. It happens because of them. David's approach transformed his entire training mentality. He started keeping a failure journal, documenting each setback alongside the specific lesson it taught him. A poor practice became an opportunity to refine his recovery routine. A technical mistake highlighted where he needed to focus his attention. Every single misstep became a building block for future success. The real power of this mindset shift showed up not just in his swimming, but in every aspect of his life. When you learn to embrace challenges as growth opportunities, you develop an unshakable resilience that transcends any single goal or achievement. This isn't just about sports, it's about life itself. David eventually did qualify for Olympic trials, but more importantly, he discovered that his happiness wasn't tied to the outcome. It was rooted in his approach to the journey. He had learned to find joy in the process of growth itself. Your challenge. Think about a recent failure or setback that's been weighing on you. Take a moment right now to write down exactly how this challenge has helped you grow or what specific lesson it taught you. Be detailed and honest with yourself. Don't just scratch the surface. Dig deep into the experience. Remember, this isn't about sugarcoating disappointment. It's about extracting value from every experience, especially the difficult ones. I believe in your ability to transform this setback into a stepping stone. Your growth journey starts now, and every challenge you face is another opportunity to prove just how resilient you truly are. Chapter 27: Spreading Positivity to Others. You might think creating positive change requires grand gestures or significant resources. But let me share how Ursula transformed an entire neighborhood with nothing more than intentional kindness and unwavering consistency. Proof that the smallest actions, when fueled by genuine care, can create massive impact. Living in a declining urban area where neighbors barely acknowledged each other, Ursula noticed how isolation was breeding negativity. Instead of accepting this as the norm, she started small, leaving encouraging notes in community spaces, helping elderly residents with their groceries, and organizing simple weekend cleanups. She didn't wait for perfect conditions or outside funding. She simply began where she was, with what she had. At first, people were skeptical. You've probably experienced this yourself, that moment when genuine kindness is met with suspicion because it seems too good to be true. Maybe you've offered help only to be met with raised eyebrows or closed doors. But Ursula understood a fundamental truth about happiness. It's contagious when consistently demonstrated, even in the face of initial resistance. She began hosting monthly community potlucks in her small backyard. These weren't elaborate affairs, just simple gatherings where people could connect over shared meals and conversation. The first one drew only 3 neighbors, but those 3 people experienced something powerful: genuine connection. They felt seen, heard, and valued. In a world of superficial interactions, this authentic engagement stood out like a beacon of hope. Here's what you need to understand about creating positive change. It's not about the size of your actions, but their authenticity and consistency. Each small act of kindness Ursula performed created a tiny spark of hope. These sparks began to multiply as others caught the vision and recognized their own power to contribute. The neighbor who received help with groceries began checking on other elderly residents. The teenagers who initially scoffed at community cleanups started organizing their own improvement projects. What began as one person's initiative became a collective movement of positive change. Within 18 months, this ripple effect transformed the neighborhood's entire atmosphere. Crime rates dropped. Community participation soared. People started looking out for each other, sharing resources, and taking pride in their shared spaces. But most importantly, people began to smile at each other again. They remembered what it felt like to belong to something larger than themselves, to be part of a community that cared. Your challenge: this week, commit to one random act of kindness. It doesn't need to be elaborate. Maybe it's buying coffee for the person behind you, leaving an encouraging note for a coworker, or helping a neighbor with their yard work. After performing this act, take a moment to reflect on how it made you feel. Notice not just your immediate emotion, but how this simple action might create positive change beyond what you can see. Document your experience, paying attention to both the immediate impact and any unexpected ripple effects that follow. I believe in your power to start your own ripple effect of happiness. The time to begin is now, and the only resource you need is your willingness to take that first step. Chapter 28: Vision Crafting for a Happier Future. When Marcus sat down at his kitchen table that December morning, he wasn't just planning another year. He was designing his future. Like you, he had dreams, but they remained foggy concepts floating in his mind. You see this pattern every day. People drift through life, hoping happiness will find them rather than intentionally creating it. They wake up each morning, scroll through social media, and wonder why their lives don't match the carefully curated images they see. You must understand that happiness by design differs fundamentally from happiness by chance. Marcus knew this. He didn't just write vague goals like be happier or make more money. Instead, he created a detailed vision of his ideal life 1 year ahead. He described how he'd feel waking up each morning, the kind of work that would energize him, and the relationships that would enrich his life. He even outlined the skills he'd need to develop and the habits he'd need to build to support this vision. This clarity became his compass. When opportunities arose, he could quickly assess whether they aligned with his vision. Rather than chasing every shiny possibility, he focused on actions that moved him toward his designed future. Within months, he had transitioned from his draining corporate job to launching his own consulting practice, allowing him to work with clients who shared his values. Each small win reinforced his belief in the power of intentional design. You possess this same power to design your happiness. Stop waiting for life to happen to you. Your vision isn't just a wish list, it's your blueprint for deliberate action. Every decision you make either moves you toward or away from your ideal future. This includes the smallest choices: what you read, who you spend time with, how you start your day. The key lies in specificity. Don't just envision success. Define what success feels like, sounds like, looks like in your daily life. When Marcus visualized his future, he included details about his morning routine, the type of clients he'd serve, and even the layout of his home office. This level of detail made his vision tangible and actionable. He could feel the satisfaction of completing a successful client meeting, hear the grateful feedback from those he helped, and see himself working in an environment that inspired creativity. Your challenge: take 15 minutes right now to write your 1-year vision statement. Describe your happiest life in vivid detail. How do you spend your mornings? What work fills your days? Who surrounds you? What activities bring you joy? Then, identify 3 immediate steps you can take this week to begin moving toward this vision. They don't need to be massive changes. Even small actions aligned with your vision create momentum. Perhaps it's waking up 30 minutes earlier to work on a personal project, reaching out to someone in your desired field, or reorganizing your workspace to match your ideal environment. I believe in your ability to design and achieve your ideal future. Your journey toward deliberate happiness starts now, with the words you put on paper and the actions you choose to take. Chapter 29: The Legacy of Joy. Picture Rose, sitting in her garden at 84, surrounded by the vibrant flowers she'd planted over decades. You might assume she was simply passing time in her golden years, but she was actually crafting the most important story of her life: her legacy, a testament to a life lived in service of others. You see, Rose had spent 40 years teaching elementary school, touching thousands of young lives with her gentle wisdom and unwavering dedication. But it wasn't the lessons in arithmetic or grammar that defined her lasting impact. It was the countless moments she spent listening to a troubled student after class, the thoughtful, encouraging notes she wrote in the margins of papers, and the genuine, unshakable belief she showed in each child's potential, even when they doubted themselves. Her former students, now adults with children of their own, still stopped by to visit, bringing homemade cookies and sharing stories of their lives. They didn't remember the multiplication tables she taught, or the spelling rules she explained. They remembered how she made them feel seen, valued, and capable of achieving anything they set their minds to. One former student, now a successful entrepreneur running $1 million company, credited Rose's unwavering support during his struggling years for giving him the confidence to pursue his dreams when everyone else had written him off. This is the profound truth about happiness and legacy. Your impact isn't measured by your achievements, wealth, or status in society. It's measured by the lives you touch, the hope you inspire, and the love you share with others along the way. Rose understood that each interaction, no matter how brief, was an opportunity to plant seeds of joy that would continue growing and blooming long after she was gone. Think deeply about your own legacy. Every single day, you have countless opportunities to create ripples of positive change in the world around you. A genuine compliment to someone who's struggling, a moment of patience when others would react in anger, an unexpected act of kindness for a stranger. These seemingly small gestures can alter the trajectory of someone's day, week, or even entire life. Your presence in others' lives isn't accidental or meaningless. It's an invitation to make a real, lasting difference. The beauty of legacy building is that it starts right now, not in some distant future when conditions are perfect. Each interaction is a brick in the foundation of how you'll be remembered by those whose lives you've touched. When you choose to lift others up, to share your wisdom and compassion freely, you're not just creating fleeting moments of happiness. You're crafting a lasting impact that will echo through generations, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Your challenge. Take a moment now to write down one specific, concrete way you want to positively impact someone's life this week. Maybe it's mentoring a struggling colleague who needs guidance, helping an elderly neighbor with their groceries, or reconnecting with someone who needs emotional support. Then, commit to making it happen with unwavering determination. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it through decisive action. Your ability to bring joy and light to others is one of your most powerful gifts, and it's time to share it intentionally and purposefully. I believe in your power to create a legacy of happiness, starting with this single act of kindness that could change someone's world. Chapter 30. Your Lifelong Happiness Blueprint. Meet Richard, a 68-year-old former executive who discovered that happiness isn't a destination, but an ever-evolving journey. After decades of chasing traditional success markers, promotions, bonuses, status symbols, he faced a profound realization when retirement arrived. The strategies that once brought him satisfaction no longer resonated in this new chapter of life. Like many high achievers, he had mastered the art of climbing the corporate ladder, but found himself unprepared for the emotional terrain of life after career success. You see, happiness isn't static. What fills your cup at 25 might leave you empty at 45, and what satisfies you at 60 could be entirely different from what you need at 70. Richard learned this truth the hard way when his carefully constructed retirement plan, focused solely on financial security, left him feeling purposeless and disconnected. The comfort of his premium retirement package couldn't fill the void left by the loss of his professional identity. But here's where Richard's story takes an inspiring turn. Instead of clinging to outdated happiness formulas, he embraced the challenge of reinvention. He started small, experimenting with different activities and connections. Some attempts fell flat. The golf membership gathered dust, and the cruise vacations felt hollow. But through this process of trial and error, he discovered unexpected sources of joy. Teaching financial literacy to young adults, urban gardening with his grandchildren, and learning digital photography. Each new pursuit added a layer of meaning he never anticipated during his corporate years. The key insight here is profound. Your relationship with happiness must evolve as you do. Life seasons bring different challenges, opportunities, and needs. What worked yesterday might not serve you tomorrow, and that's not just okay, it's necessary for growth. This isn't about abandoning your past, but about honoring your present and preparing for your future. Think about your own happiness strategies. Are you still operating from an outdated playbook? Are you holding on to practices that once brought joy, but now feel more like obligations? The path to lasting happiness requires regular reassessment and willing adaptation. It demands the courage to let go of what no longer serves you, and the wisdom to embrace new possibilities. Your challenge: take a moment now to create your personal happiness blueprint. Identify 3 core practices that currently bring you genuine joy, not what should make you happy or what used to work, but what truly resonates with you right now. Write them down with the understanding that they may evolve as you do. Be specific about why these practices matter to you and how they align with your present circumstances. Commit to maintaining these practices while staying open to refinement and change. Remember, you're not locking yourself into a permanent formula. You're creating a living document that will grow with you. I believe in your ability to craft and maintain a happiness practice that serves you today while remaining flexible enough to adapt tomorrow. This is your opportunity to write the next chapter of your happiness story. Conclusion. You've come a long way since clicking on this video. Through each chapter, you've dismantled old beliefs about happiness being a distant destination and embraced the truth that joy is cultivated through intentional daily choices. The journey hasn't always been smooth. You've faced your limiting beliefs, confronted uncomfortable truths, and pushed beyond familiar comfort zones. But here you stand, equipped with practical tools and deeper understanding. Think back to where you started. Perhaps you were seeking answers, feeling stuck, or simply yearning for more fulfillment. Now you understand that happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you actively create. You've learned to celebrate small wins, practice gratitude, and find joy in ordinary moments. You've discovered the power of reframing challenges as opportunities and treating yourself with compassion. The strategies you've gained aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical tools tested by real people who've transformed their lives. From managing your energy to building meaningful connections, from cultivating self-compassion to serving others, you now possess a robust toolkit for navigating life's ups and downs while maintaining your inner peace. But here's what matters most. You've realized that happiness isn't selfish or superficial. When you choose joy, you become a beacon of positive energy that naturally influences others. Your smile brightens someone's day. Your kindness creates ripple effects. Your resilience inspires those around you. By prioritizing your happiness, you're contributing to a more positive world. This isn't the end of your journey. It's a powerful new beginning. The principles you've learned are meant to evolve with you, adapting to different seasons of life while remaining rooted in timeless wisdom. You're now equipped to be a happiness magnet, naturally drawing more joy into your life while sharing it with others. Remember, every morning presents a fresh opportunity to choose happiness. Every interaction is a chance to spread positivity. Every challenge is an invitation to grow stronger. You have everything you need right now to create the joyful life you deserve. As you close this video, know that the real work begins in your daily choices. Will you choose gratitude over complaint? Connection over isolation? Growth over comfort? The power has always been yours. Now you know how to use it. You are ready. You are capable. Your happiness journey continues, and it starts right now. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, you're capable of so much more than you know. Now, take the next step and make it happen.